As many of you know, we go to great efforts to bring you exceptional content from London, one of my favorite cities in the world. And I always take the time after we publish a video to read your comments because I really genuinely enjoy hearing what you think about the content that we're filming and just interacting with you all. And there was one comment on one of our recent videos that we filmed at the Sahakians that I particularly enjoyed. This was from an Alex, and he starts off very, very kindly. Kirby, you're such a nice guy, and I'm so impressed with how you've built your business. He was one of our early hanger customers, but he says, come on, you dress like a funeral director. And so I thought this was funny because then he went on to suggest how really we should reach out to Nick Foulkes. As many of you know, as being a true style icon and someone that is really able to have a foot in both sides of the door. One, the classic dressing, the conservative suits, but then also being able to integrate brilliantly color and style into his outfits. So I thought it would be fun, at the suggestion of Alex, to get together with Nick and talk to him a little bit about his use of color and flair in his wardrobe to see how I might be able to update my style a little bit and not look so much like a funeral director from the 1950s. So we're here in front of Huntsman. Nick is upstairs. He's picked out a few of the house tweeds that he's designed with Huntsman, and we're gonna go inside and have a chat with him. So join me. Nick.
Kirby!
Yeah, so lovely to see you.
Kirby, it's fantastic to see you, and it's great to have you back in the old country, in the developing world here.
Well, it's always nice to be back.
You were described on the internet as looking like a funeral director.
Dressing like a funeral director at the suggestion of our very astute viewers on the channel.
And then also someone else said that they should take more color from me, and then somebody else said, but not as far out as me, which makes me sound like Ken Kesey, or as if I'm dressing perpetually for Woodstock.
Yeah. So I thought it'd be fun. I mean, of course, you're legendary in terms of your style.
And you're legendary, full stop, so.
Yeah. And so I thought, maybe this would be an opportunity to push me a little bit outside my lane by
well, you're already being very daring.
Yes,
You've got a kind of muted sort of.
Yeah, the last film we filmed together, it was the Sovereign Grade basket weave tie
Sovereign Grade
stroller. So, it doesn't get any more conservative and classic than that. And, I think that most men, that's where they begin, in the classics, in the solids, in what is
many
kind
of your
universal.
Countrymen do shorts and sort of vests, short trousers.
Yeah, well, that's
Are you familiar with those? Yes.
Skinny and short trousers. We try to
No, we try and avoid short trousers.
Yeah. I, of course, have started out very conservative, but as one takes care of the basics, it's time to venture out and become a little bit more adventurous. And I thought there's no greater kind of icon than you, Nick Foulkes, in terms of taking classic clothing, but dressing it up with color and style and flair. And so I know that, you've done a lot in designing your own tweeds. And so I thought it'd be fun if we kind of walked through some of what you've done, and maybe you could kind of give me some tips in terms of how to liven this up a little bit.
I hesitate to give tips to anybody. It's sort of very. I would always advocate probably not trying this at home, to be honest. You talked about the design of tweeds. This is one that I designed for Country Life in about 1994 with the Hunters of Brougham mill. I think it's 21 ounce, and it's against a Lovett background. There's a slight herringbone in there, and then you've got this heather coloured overcheck. Very, very simple. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to work out how many pieces it is. I got 1, 2, 3, if you count the cap, I think I got a 5-piece in this one. Now, hang on. Yeah, 6-piece. 5-piece, 6-piece.
What would they be?
Okay, well, let's work it out. You've got the coat, the waistcoat, or waistcoat as we're supposed to say, trousers,
plus 4s,
shooting breeches, shooting waistcoat, and cap. So 5 pieces.
Yeah.
Which isn't really enough, because I really love this tweed. So I've got an armchair covered in it as well. And it's quite funny. When I sit wearing the suit, sitting in the armchair, I disappear. It's great. I love it. And it's, I think, quite conservative.
Yeah.
Many people would choose it as a sports coat and dress it up with, or dress it down, or mute it with grey flannels. This is one, Dario. We better introduce Dario at this moment. Dario, head cutter and general
Great to see
Genius.
you. Yeah.
Dario, as always, an honour, an honour, an honour. Now, wait, did you and I do this one, or was it me and Campbell? This was done for the Financial Times. I wrote an article about it, and
so it was described as a tweed experience, wasn't it? So you
the Jimi Hendrix
What is a tweed
experience.
experience?
Well, it's like the Jimi Hendrix experience, except it involves tweed. This was based on. I wanted to do a tweed which had some black in it because I've done a number of tweeds, and you'll see a couple later. This I wanted to try black because I believe that it is among super snob circles, and I don't quite understand it, that you should wear black shoes or boots while shooting if you're very posh.
Really?
I'm not very posh, so I just shoot in brown shoes. But I love the idea of having black in a tweed, just to see if it worked. I think it works very well. We took an old estate tweed background, magnified the check somewhat, and then put this black over check. I mean, it's only really 3 colours if you count the cream as a colour, but it is I think it's a very complex.
Yeah, it's actually the opposite to a lot of tweeds, actually, because most tweeds, as they were made generally to go with the terrain of where they were being worn, there's a lot of different colour yarns just to make the bases. But this is almost the opposite. We've used very few yarns to create quite a complicated pattern.
And it's kind of a large resolution, right? I mean, it's very kind of large pattern elements.
I like that. I mean, I got a weakness for. You don't know who Terry Thomas is, do you?
No.
Look him up, you'll love him. And P.G. Woodhouse, but also the 1970s. And I think the 1970s were for me when Huntsman was at its height of renown, I think, really.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, what's his name? Hammock was topping the best dress list. He was better dressed than the people he tailored for, and that was people like Agnelli, so he did pretty well. And also another of his clients was Gregory Peck. And this is, now, was this one that Peck designed, or was this one that just Peck had made?
He had made, and this was a cashmere.
But it's an old-fashioned cashmere. It's sort of like almost you can wear it without it wearing out, really.
It's not got a too fine a finish, so it's got some structure, and it will wear well without pilling too much.
Yeah.
And this is maybe where you should start, Kirby, because I know you got very excited when you had a sports coat or sports jacket that was basically grey, but with a slight hint of brown that you could wear.
Right,
you devoted a 2-hour program, or was it an entire series of broadcasts on how this could go with both black and brown shoes, and maybe
Very far
even
out there
dark
for me.
and kind of mid-dark grey. I mean, it was quite psychedelic, really.
Yes, it really.
For you, I tell you, that was
waters
daring. I mean, I was worried for you, Kirby. I was worried that actually you'd lost grip on sanity, but I realised you were merely pandering to the viewer.
Yes.
But this, I think, is a good place for you to start, because it's 2 very conservative colours. It's a sort of dark olive.
It's an olive, and this is not actually a black. This is a midnight blue.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's actually
Softens the contrast.
Yeah.
And I think you've got something interesting here, and I love this sort of dog tooth, or what I mean, it's a houndstooth or dog's tooth?
Yeah,
houndstooth.
yeah.
And but
longer.
it's, I mean, you won't scare anybody by wearing that, and yet also it's something that, because I think also what's interesting about colour and what's time-consuming about colour is putting it all together. For me, it's about not matching your tie to your pochette, but matching your socks to your pochette, and matching maybe something else to a check, and not. I mean, it's about not having things. I mean, then I go against this completely and have everything matching. But for me, it's about putting colours that work together and refer to other elements of colour. So even if it's your shoes or your watch strap or something like this. Now, obviously, the more elements you introduce, the more complicated it becomes and the more time-consuming it becomes. Luckily, I'm such a frivolous and trivial person that I have plenty of time to devote to this in the morning.
So how would you wear this? I mean, this is, to me, very classic, right? It seems like this would be very easy to wear. So what's an example of maybe how I might wear this versus how you might wear this?
Well, You know, I might wear that with, I know, and I didn't, this is where another tailor, Mariano Rubinacci, introduced me to, I mean, I've always been fond of colour, but he introduced me to the sort of Neapolitan use of colour, which is, he made me a sports jacket, and I said, what would I wear this with? And he said, you wear it with jeans. Really? And the idea of wearing a sports jacket with jeans never struck me as particularly original, because when I was at Oxford in the 1980s, a lot of undergraduates who would wear that just as a set of overalls, do you know what I mean? And actually there are ways of doing that with care and interest. So maybe a pair of black jeans, or maybe a pair of trousers made out of black denim or something like that.
Very much so, yeah. There are many different weaves of cloth you could experiment with this as well. Some, as it's a cashmere, some of the winter weight, like the cavalry twills or whipcords, are very interesting. They've got a texture to them rather than just being a flat black.
And I think a texture is always important. I think when you're looking at things, it's not just colour, it's about texture, and it's about the integration of different textures. I mean, you've got the smooth silk here of a Charvet pochette. You've got this very, I mean, this was an old tweed from the basement. It was old when I had it made in 2002 or whenever. So, you know, you've got a very hirsute texture here. I've put it with a slightly textured shirt, and then for that sort of casual but not casual soft collar thing with the pin, 9 carat, obviously not 18 carat, and then the knitted tie, which picks out a bit of the background.
Knit. I mean, this is very finely knit.
Yeah,
versus like a
but
grenadine.
But I didn't want to. I mean, I could have had a grenadine. I could have had. I've got a lot of wool ties as well, but I quite like this. I mean, the colour seems to work all right, and you know, I don't know. I mean, it's sort of, it seems to do okay.
The blue socks, baby blue socks.
The blue socks go out with
beautiful
my
brown loafers.
Yeah, the stag skin loafers from Eric Cook.
Yeah.
And the great thing about that is, and we'll see this later, is wearing suede shoes, that kind of suede with a grey chalk stripe or grey flannel is a way of, and that's acceptable in town. I mean, I think given the way that people dress these days, I mean, pretty much almost anything is acceptable, so nobody's going to string you up for wearing brown shoes. You don't like that, Dario, do you? I'm very fond of it.
Yeah, it's very nice. It's not that I don't like it, it's just that it's...
He's afraid that somebody's not going to buy it now, and now he's now...
No. It has to work with your colouring, and it's sort of a
Would that work with mine or not?
People. I think it works for yours.
What type of complexion would you say works with it?
You've got to be, I think, quite dark to pull that off. On the lights, you get clashes with
a bit of old red hair still.
But with yours, it works okay. But yeah, that's the only limitations with that, as far as I can see.
And would you go for a suit in that, or just a sports coat?
That will work as both. That one, I think.
Patch pockets or welted pockets?
As a suit, no. But as if it's a sports coat, patch pocket would look really good in that. Yeah.
And then this one is. This is the exact opposite end to this. I mean, this is like pretty much everything going on, isn't it?
So many colours in this. You've got pretty much all the colours of the spectrum in this. The actual base is a grey, and then you've got blues going on. You've got oranges, reds, greens, and it gives an overall impression of a green base, but that's sort of developed through. So it always fascinates me when you go to the mills and you dissect these yarns, the amount of different colour yarns
that go
but
into
this. Is I mean, the original, was it the original Lovett mixture that was devised by having 6 things woven and then sending the keepers up the hill, or the gillies up the hill, in 6 different fabrics, and then he sat on the porch of his shooting lodge with a telescope, and the first one that he could no longer spot was the one that was most camouflaged against the heather, I think it was. Yeah, was the right mixture. And I mean, this is what also one forgets, is that might have been right there, but then, for example, on the east coast of Scotland, around Aberdeen, you got a lot of granite, for example, so that would change again. If you're shooting in southern England, you would have different colours for, you know, the quarry. I mean, you know, we've got some of the Eric Clapton suits here, for example. I think this is slightly lighter. You don't.
I think this is more of a 16 ounce.
But I mean, what would you make for grouse shooting, early season grouse shooting, for example?
Early season, there are ranges of lighter weight. It's almost suiting weight wool. So 12 ounces goes down to 11 ounces, and
I mean, you know, I've never shot grouse in August, but people who do love it.
Would you shoot in something like this? Because this seems
slightly
more fashion oriented than traditional for the.
It depends. I mean, I've got a shooting suit in this one.
Yes.
And this one.
Really?
Yes, and I probably wouldn't choose that to shoot in, although I could, I suppose.
I think this is more
But I think this is more for...
general country attire than
which I
shooting.
regard the country as Geneva onwards. You know what I mean? So, and I mean, you know, I probably even wear that in Shepherd's Bush, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I would hesitate to make it into a shooting suit, and I don't quite know why. I just think there's maybe a bit too much going on.
But how would you wear this even as an odd jacket, right? So as a, I mean, because to
this
me
is
it
dead
seems
easy.
quite
You've
intimidating.
got everything going. You can wear golden cords, you can wear grey flannels, you can wear cavalry twills.
This will work with jeans as well, because we've got the blue in the overcheck there. So,
so I mean, I think the question is, what wouldn't that go with, really? And also, what you love with Dario is, and what I think one forgets sometimes to do, is to have this contrasting. What I sometimes do is have. Let me get this right. Dark sort of linen trousers with a white linen waistcoat and white linen jacket sometimes, which is a bit more kind of Edwardian. Or what you've done here is you've got
the trouser and vest matching,
Yeah, and then picking out the colour in the tweed.
Yeah,
there.
the base colour of the tweed. So,
and kind of working in the brown, some of the darker elements.
I'm not
of the
mad on
jacket.
that tie, but
apologies.
I would have probably have gone for something a little less dark brown. The only thing for me that goes with is the buttons on the cuff.
Yes, no, I see.
To be honest, but let's try the peck. I'm quite interested. Can I look at the omen overcoat?
Yeah.
Now this is
a good omen or bad omen? Because that's a bright green.
It's not. I don't think it's Mr. Peck's most outstanding film.
No, it was one of his later projects, as I remember. But this was made for the film, and I think he wore this. This was quite a personal favourite of his.
It would be a personal favourite of mine. Raglan sleeve, of course, makes it so much easier to get on.
Yeah.
I mean, Lord Raglan, he had, when he was Lord something else, I think he was a young, I forget. Anyway, at the Battle of Waterloo, a sniper's bullet at La Haye Sainte, I think it was, smashed his elbow, meaning that he had to have his arm amputated. And when he fought he led the Crimean forces in the Crimean War many years later. And because he had difficulty getting his coat on and off with just the one arm, the raglan sleeve made it much easier for him. And I think it's it's not inelegant, but it's a much more comfortable and easy thing than the sort of normal set shoulder.
And they were made with a very straight cut through the body. They weren't shaped, because quite often with a top coat, it would be formed in the same general silhouette as your...
I mean, you were wearing your Senators over your League of Nations peace treaty overcoat earlier.
My workhorse.
Yes, that looked like an Anthony Eden sort of cast-off. It was very elegant. But this has defeated so far modern weaving science. You can't actually replicate. I mean, much as I would urge you to, you can't actually replicate.
We have tried and are trying, but I think...
Is it the green that defeats
the blue and the green are such vivid yarns that when we've been to the mills, they've not been able to get them that vivid. When it's all dissected, as I say, these are very strong colours.
I mean, these are incredibly strong, because you've got, and if you look, I don't know what the percentage is either, but if you look at that blue, it's the most immediate colour on the pattern.
Yes.
And yet it probably accounts for, I don't know, 4 or 5% of the thread.
Yeah.
It really jumps out at you. They can't dye the yarns, I mean, to be that vibrant?
Well, we prefer not to dye the yarns. Yeah. I mean, if for real authenticity, I'd rather use I'd rather not go down
So
that
how
road.
are they giving color to the fibers then?
Well, you can either yarn dye or piece dye, but
if you're not dyeing the yarns...
They can dye the fibres before they're spun.
It's bright blue sheep. You just can't get the bright blue sheep anymore. That's an extinct breed. Yeah, I mean, you know, bright blue sheep.
Yeah.
I mean, again, that's one of the terrible things about living in this country now. There are no more bright blue sheep.
No.
That and finding people to iron your shoelaces.
Global warming.
I mean, you must have. I don't know if you've got that in America yet, but that's one of the terrible sort of degradation of modern life.
Hence a lot of slip-on shoes now.
Yes, I mean, like we're all wearing. You're in America. There are people to iron your shoelaces, but
that's why we're round shoelaces. You know, they don't have to be ironed.
Oh yeah.
The convenience of modern life. Which do you prefer?
I don't know. I mean, this I think I gravitate to because it's easy.
Of course you do.
But this could be interesting. But I mean, again, if you've got a large wardrobe, this would fit in quite easily. But it's such a distinctive piece that I would question how many times I could wear this in a month and not have it.
You would be surprised. I mean, I don't know, but there are certain things that I've got tweeds that I've had for 30 years, and I keep on coming back to them. I think, first of all, they last, and I mean, unless you have to really, I mean, with the Green Country Life one there, you really have to work hard to make a dent in that.
Yeah. Well, it is a much hardier fabric, right? I mean, that's heavier
and also
generally.
when you find a way to use it, you won't want to stop because it'll just please you so much. Or at least that's my experience.
Yeah. Because you dress in tweeds quite often. I mean, amongst your wardrobe
and I don't
of
really
tweeds,
like the country very much. I mean, that's the funny thing.
for the city, yeah. But amongst your tweeds, I mean, if you were to look at your collection, your wardrobe, I mean, are there certain colors or certain types of tweeds that you find yourself going back to more often? Or do you not discriminate? You love them all?
I love them all because they all mean different things. I probably wear sports jackets slightly more. And there was the Millennium tweed, which I had the grey with the blue and black overcheck.
That's right, yeah.
And that works very well, I think, for me. And that works with a heavy blue worsted trouser, that kind of thing.
Again, very wearable, as you say.
Now, can I try on the peck?
Please,
the peck. Okay. So, let's try this on. You see, I love it. It feels comfortable, and this is a stock model.
That's a stock model,
built
yes.
for somebody with shoulders the size.
Built for nobody in particular,
well,
more for a
Christ's
mannequin.
sake, look at those shoulders. Oh, yeah. But I just think it's a great fabric, and it's got that solidity that you have with. You don't have with a modern cashmere, really.
No, well, the idea of the cashmere as well, the main reason we sort of wear that is it's lighter in weight, so you can get the warmth without the weight, essentially, which is why, hence we make a lot of cashmere top coats.
And a beautiful hand, right?
Yeah.
It is a great garment.
That's made a little bit more robust, it's woven a little bit more robustly than.
Oh, it's
the
fantastic.
other
I mean, it's a marvelous fabric.
Yeah.
You did a great job reviving this.
And do you offer this in other colorways?
There are about 4 different colours, I believe, in that.
What colours do you have?
We've got a red, and there's a grey. There's 2 shades of grey version, and I think there's a blue as well.
But this is the original.
Yeah.
That's the original, yeah.
Well, the olive is beautiful.
It does work, doesn't it?
That's a good introduction to colour for you, because it's something a little different that you probably wouldn't usually wear, but it eases you
wouldn't.
in.
I mean, you wouldn't feel. I don't think it wouldn't alarm you. It would.
No.
It would give you something to be getting on with. Maybe with a cream.
Yeah.
I mean, a cream shirt and a grenadine tie. I mean, you could probably. I wouldn't say you could pull off a funeral with it, but you could do. It's not a bad thing to start with.
No, I'm not going to quit my day job then.
Well, I wouldn't. I mean, the undertaking world needs you, Kirby.
Yeah.
But when we did, were you there when we did the exhibition in Washington?
In Washington I was, yeah.
That was something
Amazing
that I
occasion.
did about, must be 7 years ago now, at the British Embassy in Washington, British Ambassador's residence. And it was the history of Savile Row's relationship with America. And there was a whole room really devoted to Peck, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah. No,
but we also got Buffalo Bill's overcoat from Pools. And I mean, it was testimony to Pierre's even-handedness that he actually paid to have the Buffalo Bill overcoat flown from Cody, Wyoming in a private jet in a climate-controlled cabinet to exhibit it there. And I mean, that was... I mean, it's a shame that exhibition only lasted for 2 or 3 days.
Oh, it really was. It was a beautiful, it's such a beautiful setting as well.
And also, we'd worked disproportionately long and hard to bring, and we took the story right from the early 18th century before independence, right up to the current modern day, and we found parallels with almost every aspect of American life. We found these incredibly illustrious customers in all Savile Row. And it really was, I mean, it was a shame that was so temporary, really. I mean,
people are unaware, I think, of the long-term connection there has been with Savile Row. Savile Row and America have been linked since we've been here.
Since before America.
Yeah.
Kirby, what's your takeaway, as they say in America?
Well, I don't think I'm
grab and go.
I don't think I'm going to be giving you a run for your money anytime soon. I probably would start with the gradual dipping of one's toes into color, and I think this would probably be where I'd go next.
It's only because we don't have anything quieter on the table, though.
Yeah, well, and it's funny. Amongst these tweeds, this looks exceptionally conservative, but in my wardrobe, it would be quite daring. So maybe this is where I would begin. This is an interesting point you make out about this one right here, Dario, is that, in fact, even though it seems quite bold, because of the variation of color you have in this, it actually, in fact, is
And that's what you
easy to
find
wear.
is the versatility of these things, is that the more color there is, the easier your job is. I mean, because also with this suit, it's probably if I was wearing the three-piece as opposed to half of Gregory Peck's wardrobe, it's very easy because I put it on and it's done.
Yeah.
You know, so actually color, you can wear it as easily as you would a dark suit, you know, and it's sort of like, Rudy Schoenberg, I think, used to say that when he was at the Palace Hotel, and he would say to the guests, this was in the 50s, I think, he would say that when you get back from skiing, you change into a sports jacket, why not change into a dinner jacket? Because it's just as easy.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that it needn't be a alarming color, you know?
Nothing quite as bold as this.
It's not so bold. Kirby, as you know, that's very sober. You can wear that to one of your funerals.
So did you have this made as a three-piece, two-piece?
I had it, in the end, I think in the end I went for a three-button and a one-button coat.
Yes.
No waistcoat. Trousers. With turn-ups and shooting breeches and shooting a waistcoat in the end. And I think there's a hat somewhere as well.
Yeah.
Kidding. Wow.
Yeah,
Well.
maybe a cloak and maybe some sort of a bathing costume, and we're done, I think, really.
Yeah,
But
brilliant.
this is a great one. This one day I hope the kids are going to get something made in that, because
and this right here.
Yeah, that's been around. I mean, that's been. Didn't Mr. Peck Jr. have his eye on that?
You did, yes.
Well,
It's
I
like
mean,
a
tell him
adorn.
he's welcome to a jacket
Okay.
length.
This is your bolt, the family bolt right here.
That is, yeah. We
Yeah.
have customers who have a family tweed that's being stored in our room downstairs.
Yeah, and those two are mine, so that's good.
And would you do trousers out of this also?
Yeah, of course. Don't be ridiculous.
That's
Best thing.
that's
Anything,
robust.
I mean, you said you probably wouldn't do trousers in this.
No, I'd have trousers in that.
Yeah, you would.
that would make up as
That would
trousers.
make up as a fabulous suit.
Would you make trousers
The only
for
thing-
anyone other than Nick Foulkes in this?
Yes, we have done, in fact.
I wouldn't touch this cloth personally myself. It's not my favourite.
Too gray?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go that far, I would do it with a slightly more vigorous palette, personally.
Yeah.
But that's only my thing. I'm oddly drawn to this because it's got a very old feel to it.
Yeah.
And
There's,
again, would you do this with a pair of matching trousers, waistcoat?
What do you think?
I would because there are fewer colours. I think this is harder. That's one of the reasons I find this difficult. This would be harder to match an outfit to than some of the others.
So it would have to be a suit, really.
I think so. Yes.
Interesting. So you would have a harder time finding a pair of trousers, odd trousers for this. Like, what about a pair of brown trousers? Could you?
Yeah, a pair of brown
Corduroy?
trousers could do, but
then you're into matching shades, which is difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, not difficult, but I mean it's
Yeah.
laborious. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
You might as well just have matching trousers made.
You're going to
This
need.
is what I would say about this. This I would have difficulty wearing with anything else.
Yeah. You couldn't split it apart as
Well, I
separates.
could, but it would take. I
You'd
waste
spend all
enough
morning.
time thinking about clothes as it is. So as to have it just.
You'd be dreaming about it all night and still wake up
I know.
perplexed.
I'd lose sleep over it, Kirby. You don't imagine. It would cost me endless hours of agony.
I think what it is in this tweed and in these, there are different colours that complement rather than contrast or match.
Yeah.
And would be the difficulty with this. You'd either have to contrast or match rather than pick something that's going to complement.
Yeah.
That's what makes it more difficult, I think.
Interesting. Well, shall we?
Brilliant.
Yep.
Perfect. Nice to
Thank
see
you
you.
so
gentlemen.
much.
Thank
Great
you.
to see you as
and
always.
you.
Dario, always a pleasure.
Thank you, Kirby. I'll see you sooner.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So on to.
Yes, on to Terry. I still can't believe some of those tweeds. They're incredible.
No, they're good, aren't they? Well, here we are at the great temple to male elegance that is Kent Haste and Lacter. Terry Haste, who has made my clothes, I think it'll be 30 years this year, won't it?
It is.
Incredible.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, who'd have thought?
So you've followed him all around London.
I have. I followed him to Huntsman. I followed him out of Huntsman. I followed him down here. You were round the corner, weren't you, near Sartoria for a while?
Yeah, until they decided to knock the whole street down and rebuild it.
And we used to go to W Bill together and get out all these ancient tweeds that had sort of... Have you ever been to W Bill?
I haven't.
Well, in the old, you've missed it now. The old days were fantastic. It's basically the people down there wouldn't see light for maybe 6 months of the year because they'd go in there and it was totally underground. You had to stoop, and there were these bolts of fabric, but some going back to the before the Second War, I think, weren't they? Really?
They went back for, yeah.
All remnants or just old bolts?
No, I mean,
old bolts,
I got some great stuff.
Well, that's where we got the idea for the house tweed, the blue house tweed from, was from one I made for you, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was.
And
that's been quite popular. That's all gone now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And this one, this is the one that I sort of have I gravitate to this sort of, I find the ground very good, and I like the space of the check. I mean, I think in a way that's a slight, I mean, I love the country life one, but I feel that this is perhaps the development of it. I mean, I think it's the same tweed but different. So it's a bit like when Gerald Genter designed the Royal Oak and then took some of the idea and the elements of that and created the Patek Philippe Nautilus. I think that it's a development. You like it, Terry, don't you?
I absolutely love it. Yeah, we've had it made up as a few window models. We've made it up in shooting waistcoats and suits.
And your great
sport
invention
jackets.
is the quilted.
We've done the quilted one really because for shooting nowadays, most people like yourself probably wear just a shooting waistcoat.
Yeah.
This is something people can put on just as a shooting waistcoat and then put a jacket on for lunge afterwards. And it's a lovely way to keep warm without being too heavy.
And I mean, that's the thing, because the old shooting waistcoats, they weren't as warm, but they were heavier because you put that thick, what was that checked lining from hunting coats you used to put in there?
What, the...
Tattersall check.
Tattersall check.
That Tattersall check lining was quite heavy. So this works for me really well, and it's very comfortable, very light. And I was skeptical because obviously it involves something that isn't entirely natural.
Yeah. So this is for warmth, and then for
the idea is for
padding
warmth
also,
and for
or?
lightness.
Okay.
You can have it in whatever thickness you like. We've done it in the thinnest one possible, but we've gone up to 150 grams. This is 50 grams.
Okay.
Sherry has one as a sort of overcoat, doesn't he? The great Sherry Rahman, the legend that is Mr. Sherry Rahman.
He's got a nice thick one in, just to keep him warm.
Yes.
I saw one of his ski jackets leave yesterday.
Oh, you saw it?
You make him ski wear, don't you?
No, we just altered it for him.
Oh, was it an alteration?
Yeah.
I was thinking, how on earth could you have made that stuffing the down into the jacket? I said, that must have been a bloody mess.
We had to do some alterations to it.
Okay, that makes more sense now.
But you've made me, I mean, we were just discussing, the first thing you made me was that sort of mustard Hunter's Aurora tweed with, it's a yellow mustard with the blue and the white overcheck, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a huge blue check, wasn't it? The white.
Yeah,
it wasn't too dissimilar in pattern to this, was it? But
no, I mean, I tend
size,
to always regress to basically one configuration.
Yeah.
Except when we did this, which I think is, and even though I designed it myself, it's a work of bloody genius.
So what do you like about this? So we were talking about Nick's progression with color.
Yeah.
I mean, and so you've been cutting for him for 30 years. Was he always so bold? Or has this been an evolution?
No,
it's
he's always been very bold.
How he was born.
Yeah,
Because he's got an incredible
bold.
command of color and texture and pattern. You know, me being described as a funeral director, clearly I prefer my solids and white shirts.
I think the full thing was actually a funeral director on holiday in the south of France.
That's
actually
right.
it was yeah.
So this is, I mean, talk to us about this. So this has got, I mean, absent the overcheck, it's pretty simple tweed.
But that's what I quite like, because it's about the geometry of the pattern. You've got these, it's basically a repetition, but the repetition is huge. So you get something that is bold but simple, and that's what I quite liked about the green and the cream and black one. You don't have that much colour, but you've got a lot of impact. Yeah. And I just love this. I mean, I think you made it up for me a single button with a big lapel, didn't you? I mean, how big was the lapel? 4, 5?
No, it was more than 4. It was about 4 3/4.
Really?
Which is huge.
Yeah.
So for reference, how large is this lapel?
It's about 3.5, isn't it?
Okay.
3.5?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Wow, so another 1.25 inches.
Yeah, but also with a single button, it's more.
It's much longer.
Yeah.
Gives a huge impact.
And so this is, I mean, less about color and more about the visual texture. right? Which is
Yeah.
another way to kind of, I mean, if this is, the far left of being conservative and simple, right? You start moving over, introducing color, texture. What else?
Yeah, but Nick, you've got some of this as well, haven't you?
I got a lot of that, and I wear it, but it's not what people remember.
No, people only remember. We were talking about this. Yeah, the Tommy Nutter days. People will only remember the big checks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you would have, what you would do is you would have that kind of belly on the lapel,
Yeah.
and you would have that taped edges, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And then you would do
Patch pockets on the bias.
yeah, that's it.
Different
that's it.
fabric. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it was a bit. My son loves it. Max absolutely loves that, and he wants one day you can make him a
wants me to
Tommy
make
Nutter.
him one,
Yeah,
doesn't
he really does. I think it's a bit gimmicky, but it was a moment, wasn't it? I mean, it really was.
Most of the time, we used to do quite a lot of them.
I mean, they look good on people like Twiggy and things like that.
They look good on certain people in certain areas. We made one for some guy up north, and he brought it back after he wore it a couple of times. He said, and he wore it to Walrus on a Saturday afternoon, and he got derided from it. So he said, "Can we take all the edges off it and just put normal patches on the pockets?" But yeah, as you say, it works in certain areas. It doesn't work everywhere.
I mean, it was a kind of post-swinging London thing, wasn't
Yeah.
it? It was sort of early 70s was really when that... And it was that sort of whole Bieber era of glamour when you had that kind of... The 20s and 30s were seen through the sort of... the lavish Hollywood musical cut and all those... You have a sort of quite high rise on the trousers, don't you? With the light coming through, you have big lapels fitted. And it was a 1930s look, but reinvented in the 1970s. So,
well, that's what Tommy was about.
and
wasn't
these
it,
shoulders
really?
that went like that,
Yeah,
wasn't
the
it?
shoulders, yeah.
So what differentiates, something like this or that as being exceptionally classic, but then the pieces that you're speaking about as kind of coming in and out of favor? I
Well,
mean, the fabric is classic, but the cuts
I mean, this
come
is
and
20
go.
years old, this suit,
Yeah.
and the cloth is probably another 30 or 40 years
That's
older
quite
than
old,
that.
that
It's
fabric,
probably about
isn't it?
60 years
Yeah.
old, the cloth.
Amazing. And I mean, it's a beautiful piece. I mean, this is but this has certainly hit that chord or resonated as a classic, timeless. And
Well, I
it's-
think you won't see many of them about for a start, which is probably one thing. And I think also, if it's entirely sui generis, it won't date.
No.
Because it is what it is. It's like I don't know, St Paul's Cathedral. I mean, it's kind of, there's only one of them, so it is St Paul's Cathedral. I'm not saying this is a sort of, maybe it is a national historical monument. I don't know, but as you won't see so many of them around, it's very hard to compare it amongst its peers and decide whether it is dated or not dated.
But
It's
also
just a
you've
singular.
kept it very simple, haven't you? You haven't put all the edges on it and the pockets in different ways and different colours, so you've kept it very, very simple.
Yeah.
So that
got
way
the
it keeps it
slanted
very
pockets.
classic.
Well, the slanted pockets I always have for some reason. I don't know why. And I think I might be going back to the poacher's pocket now as well.
The poachers.
Yeah, I love the
Yeah,
poacher's
yeah.
pocket. That was great.
So if you're doing something not loud, but slightly more bold like this,
Yeah.
then would you keep it simple in terms
Yeah.
of the cut?
You keep it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as I say, if you put too much on it, it starts to look like a Christmas tree and it looks like you've overdone it.
Too many bells and whistles.
Yeah, it's what Nick said about the Tommy Nutter thing. Yeah, at the time, it looked fantastic because it was that era.
Yeah.
If you started doing it now,
Be chastised.
It's quite mannered. I mean, it's definitely not. I mean, yes, clothing for me is a dressing up box, but also it's not either. I mean, I don't know how to quite explain my sort of view of clothes, and I've never really thought to, but I don't. I mean, I know it sounds silly, but I don't like anything too self-consciously kind of gimmicky.
Yeah.
I mean, you have made me a pink houndstooth check tweed with a belted back.
Yeah.
But that works for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, it's where you wear it. You probably where'd you wear that? In the south of France? Or-
Yeah.
Yeah, so when it's a really hot day, it looks good in that era. You put white trousers with it, do you?
White or grey.
Yeah.
Do you remember those Oxford bags you made me?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wear that. That's another thing, just experimenting with cut, I think, as well. Just wider trouser legs, for example, something like that. Do you remember that brown pair you made me with the blue overcheck?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah, with
they
the
were
really big, I mean, it was so big, I kept it until I could no longer see the toe of my shoe. Then it was all right. That I think is probably, we're going a bit further on the little details on the pockets there.
Yeah, we got the inverted pleats on the pocket just to make it a little bit different, just take a little bit of plainness off it. But also, again, keeping it's really classic. The turn-back cuffs, which you normally have. I don't think we had enough cloth on that one.
No, I think probably not. Because you remember you had to do something with the waistcoat as well. You had to do it post-boy or something.
Yeah, you've got the post-boy waistcoat, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
I love that. That's the sort of...
There we go.
That is brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is great.
And then we put the suede on.
Yeah.
Because we did also another one, we put suede on both sides, didn't we?
Yeah, that's good. That works.
Colour.
And I've got a yoke on the back. It's kind of almost Western.
Yeah.
It's almost like I had to wear line dancing in tweed. And it's a slightly bulkier tweed, and it's got a more of a flannel finish to it, hasn't it? I mean, but it's got that kind of almost like a sort of berry-coloured yoke and double patch. I mean, it's quite extraordinary. I mean, I was thinking of actually coming to ask you to take that off because
What, the patches?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, only
they
because
match the checks perfectly.
I know they do. I'll keep it then. But it, you know.
All that work.
That work, I know. It took me ages putting them on.
But it is good. I mean, it is a hell of a garment, actually.
Yeah, it looks...
And
How many pieces do you like and you have in your wardrobe? Have you ever?
I must have at least 6 or 7.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah,
In this
maybe
color. In this color and that pattern.
And then what else have we got to discuss, Terry? I mean, what about the way I wear? What about colours that work for me?
How
and
would you
colours?
describe his approach towards color and pattern?
Well,
and
we changed
having known him
over
for
the
30 years. Of all the
known him
tailors
for
we've
30
met
years,
with, I think
we've gradually changed slightly. I mean, Nick and I always argue all the time because I always want to make them slightly smaller and he always wants them slightly looser. So it's always an argument.
The trousers?
Like the jackets.
the jacket's okay.
At the very, very end where I'm trying to pin it in and he's going, no, that's too tight. So we keep it. But the jackets have shortened. We've come shorter and shorter on the jackets,
Yes.
haven't we? From the early days, they were very, very long.
They were very long. They were more like a teddy boy drape coat, weren't they?
Yeah, we're about 3 inches shorter now.
Yeah.
On the jackets.
Really?
So when we first started.
And when I went into Chave, Anne-Marie Corbin complained that it wasn't in proportion. This was about 25 years ago. She complained it wasn't in proportion. I said, but I like the length. But no, I mean, I've kind of taken me a while. I'm a slow learner, but finally Terry's instruction is wearing off.
But it's like everything. If you put all the correct things together with it, it works really well. Like you're wearing the pink today. So you've got the very light
Beautiful.
suede shoes. You've got the
Beautiful socks.
socks that match the shirt perfectly, and the tie brings it out. It's just
Don't
slightly
forget
off.
my enamel nardy cufflinks in pink.
And of
to
course
match
your
the tweed.
cufflinks.
And then what else? What other good colours things have you made? You made me that Bill Haley type dinner jacket, the tartan one.
Oh
Black
God,
watch.
yeah, I forgot that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was the blue, the dark blue tweed with the red and pale blue overcheck. Do you remember that Frenchman came in and ordered one?
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's what I was just thinking of. Yeah, he wanted one exactly the same. That was about an 18-ounce fabric, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was very heavy.
Yeah.
I think we put one in the window, didn't we,
Yes,
as
you
well?
did.
Sold immediately. I mean, after 30 years, I think there's a misplaced emphasis in many ways on the product. I mean, I think that the relationship one has with their tailor.
Well, it's
is
more of
really-
that, isn't it? Because, Nick just asked me and I will show him something different, something what he should have, and he'll say yes or no there and then. Normally it's yes, isn't it, normally?
Yes, because you
And then they
know
agree
me
straight
very
away.
well, and you know the kind of things that, and also then I'll be guided by you, because Terry just knows. I mean, it's almost like a sort of muscle memory with him. I mean, you know, he is. I mean, I would say you're probably the best tailor around at the moment. Would you not say? Would you not agree?
I can't agree with that. I'm always trying to improve all the time.
No, but I mean, I think Dario at Huntsman is very nice and he's very good, but he's made me far fewer things. I mean, I mean, what I mean is, over the course of 30 years, I think I've had one dud suit that you didn't allow me to take out of the shop.
No, it was awful. And then there was the 32-ounce white Bedford cord,
Which I still got, but I mean that shouldn't have been attempted because it was a very strange fabric, and I mean it is great, but it's utterly useless. I mean it is like rolling myself in sort of roofing felt and then
Never
walking
let him
around.
forget me.
22
forget that
ounces,
one.
yeah.
32.
32.
It's a Bedford cord. It's what you used to make riding breeches out
And
of.
car seats out of in the
And
old
car
days.
seats out of, yeah.
Yeah, and then I had it 3-piece. And
Yep,
it's,
just to keep you warm in the summer.
No, but I mean, given the, I'm probably a very demanding customer, I would have thought. Would you not?
See, I don't find you that demanding. I've got to be honest. I find
it easier
relationships very, very easy.
Do you find it easier to work with someone that's got a very specific kind of idea?
Well, yeah, it's got a specific idea, but at least Nick will listen to you. And if I say to him, well, that's wrong, you can't do that, he will just accept it and go with it. Whereas some people say, no, that's the way I want it. I must have it like that.
And then they come back and complain it looks like crap.
Well, yeah, normally come back and say, you know, you were right. I think, I wish you didn't say that.
Interesting. Well, so where would you take me? I mean, in kind of drawing inspiration on Nick, if I were to have something made to integrate more color, kind of more pattern.
What, to bring something with some more colour with you? Yeah, I think we need to look at some tweeds, and then I think if you went down Nick's route, you might be a little bit too
If we were to do a three-piece tweed
conspicuous.
for me, you know, not
Three-piece
just
tweed.
an odd jacket, right? Where would you go?
I think I'd look for one of the big bold tweeds. I think there's a grey with a blue tweed, which I know made for Nick a long
Can you
time
pull
ago.
Yeah,
Do
that's
you
a
think you
nice
can
one,
find it?
actually, isn't it?
Do you think you can pull a book and find it?
Yeah, that works
me.
very well.
That works really well. It's not too over the top. It's the first venture into a little bit of colour.
Yeah. So, and you would do this as a three-piece?
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
a three-piece.
Yeah. Okay, and if we were to take it one step
One
further,
step further.
where would you go?
So these are all a little bit boring, really, aren't they? I mean, that would...
This is
It's all right. I'm not mad on that.
No?
No, I don't like the idea of the contrasting cross-check,
Okay.
personally.
I mean, I like the purple, right?
Yeah,
Those are pretty,
but then you're going
but I
back
don't know
to
about those.
you basically wind up going back to the one I did for Country Life.
Yeah.
20 odd years ago.
And what is
almost 30
this?
years.
Is what, a heather? I mean, this is, what would you call that? Because that's a very consistent.
You see, that I don't mind. To be honest, it doesn't.
It's not
It
striking,
doesn't.
it's
It
kind of
doesn't.
flat.
It doesn't really invigorate me particularly. I don't mind this thing, this graph paper look. What do you think of that, Terry?
Yeah,
Still quite
I think
subtle,
that's
though.
fine for shooting. It's more of a shooting thing,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It is a bit on the subtle side. I quite like that. Ah, I've got that in a three-piece.
This one right here. That,
That looks absolutely
and what
fine
color
in a
would you? What
three-piece.
would you call this?
Primrose.
Primrose. Okay. It's
I've
a
got
very
that.
nice
I've
way to
got
say
that. I've
yellow.
got that. I've got that in
Neon.
three-piece.
And you would do this for me?
I think that looked brilliant
Really?
as a three-piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It's bold.
I wouldn't even know where to begin.
No, it would look great. It would look great. It's very easy to wear. Very, very easy to wear.
What, do you just wear it like it's a gray?
You just wear it like it's a grey. I mean, obviously,
You know, you can accessorize it with some yellow.
I mean, this is
Yellow
where
socks.
your conservatism pays off, because you just treat that as if it didn't have the check and you'll be fine. I mean, you know, it's
Pretend it's not there.
yeah. Dress as if
Yeah,
it
so
weren't
you
there.
wouldn't, if you put a white shirt, it'd be too hard with it. But
Yeah.
if you put a pale blue shirt with
Yeah.
it softens it down.
Yeah. Okay.
This is more your kind of Belgian look, isn't it? Really.
It's more shit. Well, that is incredibly trendy at the moment.
This
Which one?
stuff.
This?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah. And so what? This is just a houndstooth with an overcheck.
It's just a house with an overcheck, but it's very classic. It's one people love.
This is the famous Lovett mixture, isn't it? Or their Lovett.
Yeah.
This I really don't like.
See, I would find this to be again too dull. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, but if you had that in a suit, you would trust me. For you in a suit, even in a two-piece, that would be quite a statement for you.
Well.
And it's not. But I think it'd be a statement, to be honest, for anybody, really.
Yeah.
I think it looks quite nice made
I
up
think
in
it
a
looks.
suit.
I haven't got.
I can see how that would be
It's
nice,
quite,
right?
it's quite weird, really.
It's almost like a salad.
Well, it's
I mean,
when
it's just
my days at
effectively-
Huntsman, we always did again the big bold checks, which Nick has had a few, and the plain ones. But the plain one was the most popular one
Really?
all the time, because it's one you can wear and you haven't got to think about it. You haven't got to worry about being too bold.
The gun club's nice. What do you think of that?
This sort of thing I quite like.
Again, that's very, very traditional. Very easy
This one
to
or
wear.
This one.
Right here. Would you do that with trousers?
I wouldn't. No, I think
No, it's a sports
just a
jacket.
bit boring, really, for trousers. The whole thing. Sports jacket would be nice. Do something a little bit different with it, just to bring it out a bit more.
Patch pockets.
Patch pockets would be wonderful. Little half bellows, I think, would not look nice on it.
What about this one?
It's not my favourite, but
Yeah.
Can't say I'm wild about it. But other than that, very nice.
some people like it.
Yeah, but what, I mean, if you were to dissect this, I mean, it's just too
It's just
small
too
of a
aggressive.
pattern. Yeah.
It's just too aggressive for me.
Yeah, I've had to sit back and really take my breath on that one. That's like an assault
It's,
on the
it's
senses.
coming out and really.
Yeah, without actually any benefit to it either.
Yeah.
What do you think about grey herringbone tweed?
The good thing with that is you can put it on any time. You can wear it anywhere. You can.
Do you have anything like that, Kirby?
It's quite
No.
You see, I
very
think
easy to
think
wear.
that for you might be a good place to start because it's not so formal either. I mean, the funeral director thing is unwarranted, but there is the sense that it's quite formal what you wear all the time, and something like that it's still a suit.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a suit you can wear with dark shoes, black shoes, but it's, you know, for traveling and things like that, it's fantastic. I mean, I think those suits are really massively underrated.
This is an all-round thing. You can, as you say, you can wear anywhere, going around the world, not worry too much. And then
Yeah.
take a pair of grey
What
trousers
about
or black
between that
trousers.
and then the darker grey?
The dark grey is a bit dark, isn't it? Really, it's got more life to it.
I guess at a distance it would fall flat, right?
Yeah, just
Yeah, I mean,
like plain grey.
but then we may as well just go straight to a dark blue serge for you then, basically. I mean, you're always going to gravitate to the ones that look the most like a dark blue serge because that's like you're a homing pigeon.
I know, I need to be rehabilitated,
You know, like those
I need to be rehabilitated.
Those homing pigeons that will always go, let's see oh no, here's a... Whereas I will always veer off to the sort of,
Yes,
if I can
yes, the
possibly
bright
have a
and
little
colourful.
more vigour to the check, I'm there. And if there isn't enough vigour, I'll kind of add a sort of gun patch or something like that.
It's a bit like going back to my Tommy Nutter days, keeping
Yeah.
talking about that. Is you come in and say, I'm looking for that, I must have that. And then you walk out with a plain grey suit. Because it gradually gets muted and diluted as the day goes on.
Yeah, this is an interesting recommendation. I never would.
just looks so
would
good.
never pick that out.
It just looks really good. Another great one, but it's a shame you can't get it anymore. It was a really old tweed. Do you remember? It was just grey and black, wasn't it? Very big check.
Yes, that was
Like
a nice
Cheviot,
one.
wasn't it? And I mean, it's a huge check. Very, very bold.
Yeah, I mean,
But very
big
understated,
check. It was
huge.
about that big.
Yeah, it's massive, wasn't it?
Yeah. Which I like. I like that kind of thing. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's not just 70s. It's timeless, really. I mean, and also that's what I mean about if you have something that's so like itself and unlike everything else, it's never going to be in fashion or out of fashion. And I mean, I hate being in fashion.
Because when I was at Huntsman, Charlie Watts followed me to Huntsman because he was with me at Hackett as well. And then he used to like going, same with Nick, going down to the W Bill, looking through the archives. Unfortunately, they've all gone now. And he picked out, I think if Nick had seen it, Nick would have had it. It was a huge, again, it was that size check. And bearing in mind, he wasn't exactly very tall. And he had a suit out of it, and it just looked fantastic.
But he had good white hair, don't forget.
Yeah, yeah. And it's the accessories, you put it, the way you dress it up.
And Charlie was a very elegant man as well.
Incredibly elegant, yeah.
I mean, he really was. Another one, you remember, what was that? The great story you told me was that the Duke of Edinburgh sent in a waistcoat they had made in 1942 for alteration.
Yeah, 1948. Yeah.
1948, sorry, yes.
That was a couple of years, about 3 years ago.
Yeah, that was great. I love that story.
Well, gentlemen, I've got a lot of work to do. I need 30 more years of great tailoring, to build my wardrobe up so that it's.
I'll bring Nick
I've been
in next
doing
time
this.
to change your
I've been
colours.
dressing, formally or kind of in suits for maybe 10 years, and I'm barely getting past my navies and grays. So we need to accelerate things a bit.
I think you should. I think if you remake this one.
Well, we stopped it because of the pandemic, didn't we?
Yeah.
It all sort of went a bit flat, but now we just started to talk about.
Maybe we should
doing
look at doing
something
the Charlie
again.
Watts again. Maybe we should look at doing that kind of. I mean, I would like that. I would wear that.
Yeah.
What would it be? Would it be grey with a black or grey with a blue?
Do you know, I think grey with a black would be wonderful,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
And the really big check. Because that's what I was trying to go for this one, but with more of that.
See, this is grey, but funny, as it comes out, it looks brown, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's a fabulous.
Does look brown.
That is a fabulous
It
sports
looks
coat.
great on.
Oh, and I love the bright blue overcheck.
It's great. I mean, that is fabulous.
I was talking to someone the other day who's got the other one of this, and he wears it, and he says everybody stops him and comments on it. It's just amazing.
Yeah,
and it's amazing what you can again achieve with a very, very limited palette.
Yeah, just 3 colors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, black, grey and white.
Well, Terry, thank you.
No, thank you.
Always a pleasure. And, you know, again, this is the well-dressed men that I know, you know, they share one thing in common, and that's Terry Haste. You know,
He's a genius.
Other than great taste, you know, which could come from him also.
It does. He's a genius. Terry, thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Kirby. Lovely to see you.
I hope, I wouldn't say instructive, but it might have given you some options.
Yeah, well, I think that it's given me a lot to think about in future commissions, and here we are, Beau Brummel, the man who in many ways started it all.
Yes, but he was actually quite sober in his dress, weirdly enough. He only wanted blue and buff.
Really?
Yeah, and it was Count d'Orsay who was the more extravagantly dressed individual. I mean, I wouldn't want you going around looking like this. You look a bit like the character of a Johnny Walker whiskey bottle.
I think a trip back to see Terry is
trip back to
long
Terry.
overdue.
Well, I'll go with you. I'll go with you and make sure that you don't choose anything too funereal or too far out.
And I must have it. It's on my bucket list now as a proper 3-piece tweed.
Good.
So that I can, you know, be properly clothed and sufficiently colorful.
More than one, I hope.
Thank you so
Oh,
much.
Kirby,
It's been a
thank
pleasure.
you. It's been always a pleasure to see you, and I look forward to that very, very soon.
Yeah, cheers.